Welcome back, 5th grade, Lincoln Elementary. Here we go. This is going to be our last topic in topic 11. Our lesson is 11-10, found on pages 296 and 297. Make sure your spiral's out and textbook's open to that page. In your notes today, you will see we have a little bit to get copying, so take your time and go ahead and make sure you have everything down. First, put your title, Dividing Unit Fractions by Non-Zero Whole Numbers. So you will see that this is the opposite of our last lesson, which we took the whole numbers and divided it by a fraction. Your objective today is to write down, I can discover the inverse. Inverse means the opposite of. So for example, the opposite of adding is subtracting. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So you're going to find the inverse relationship between multiplication and division that will help you or me to divide unit fractions by whole numbers. That's our goal and our objective for today. Now before we get into the textbook, we're going to go over a little background, things that we've been working on / a little review. So in your notes, put a background / review, okay, and write these words out. As a reminder, a fraction can be interpreted as the division of two whole numbers. So for example, when we had 8 over 4, this fraction line means division, so that's 8 divided by 4. The same fraction can also be interpreted as 8 groups of 1/4, or 8 times 1/4, because remember our word of means to multiply. So these same relationships can be applied to dividing a unit fraction by a whole number. Okay, so take a minute and get this copied into your notes as a small review and reminder of where we have already been. If you need to, stop for a second and copy it down. Continuing on with this, I put one little example before we start our lesson. 1/3 divided by 2. So a fraction divided by a whole number is saying 1/3 times 1/2, because we will take again the reciprocal of 2 and multiply like we did in our last lesson. So 1 times 1 is 1 and 3 times 2 is 6. So again, this shows that dividing a whole number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So almost exactly the same thing as last lesson, except we're switching the order of the problem. This time our fractions are going first and our whole numbers are being divided second. Please take a minute to get this copied into your notes. Okay, now you may go ahead and look at the top of page 296 in your textbook. We have dividing unit fractions by non-zero whole numbers. It says, how can you model dividing a unit fraction by a whole number? Half a casserole is left over, and Beth and Chuck are sharing the leftovers equally. What fraction of the original casserole does each person get? Here it says to make a drawing to show a half. So what do we need to do to find this answer? Yes, we are going to need to use division. And why are we going to use division? Because they are sharing equally. So what division expression will that represent? You will look at the top of page 297 and see that they have written 1/2 divided by 3. And you will see there they drew the pan, they drew half of it, and then they put and split it into 3 equal parts. So here it says each part contains 1/6 of the whole. So a half divided by 3 equals 1/6. Then the arrow points to the right and it says use multiplication to check. So you take your end answer and multiply it by the whole number to see if it comes up with the original fraction. You see there 3 times 1/6 equals 3/6. And they don't show you the simplifying part, but you should know that by now. You see 3/6 is equal to a half, because 3 divided by 3 is 1 and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So each person's going to get 1/6 of that casserole. Okay, so at this point, we want to just write down our quick steps on how to solve these problems if we're just using regular multiplication and division.